But martial art has a very, very deep meaning as far as my life is concerned because as an actor, as a martial artist, as a human being, all these I have learned from martial.
I remember a time when you had to be kind of a JKD insider to have that video. Now it's all over the place. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel. Merry Christmas, in case I forget at the end to wish it to those of you who celebrate. This is I Love Jeet Kune broadcast number 257. This is the one about the Jeet Kune Lost interview. As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button. Feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you are catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. If you enjoy my work and you'd like to support the program, please visit jkdrebel.com, click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this. The Unified Martial Art Academy Kali JKD t-shirt, our homage to the late Ted Lukai, but also one of my favorite JKD Kali designs from an Inasano shirt from way back when I started. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast. So you guys know that one of my dreams is to one day talk JKD on the Joe Rogan podcast. And one of my dreams is to one day also have, like, even if it's just a one-person team, like he has Jamie Vernon, you know, to do all that video insertion and what have you. So I decided to play around with that today. Also because James Bishop, who everybody knows James Bishop by now, the author of Who Wrote the Tao. I'm finding that almost every discussion now makes some reference to James and his book. So my idea for today's broadcast was, since James has put Bruce Lee's words, has brought Bruce Lee's words to the forefront somewhat, that we would do that a little bit. So I have to be my own producer. So if this messes up, don't laugh too much at me. Just work with me on this. All right. So here we go. Let's do this again. Let's try this again.
Martial art.
Maybe for...
You see, actually, I do not teach, karate because I do not believe in styles anymore.
Right. So Bruce Lee says, I don't teach karate because Pierre Berton had mentioned karate or whatever. He says, I don't teach it anymore because I don't believe in styles anymore. And I figured, well, yeah, that's because Bruce Lee started to see that there were commonalities between martial arts methods, and probably started to see also that there were commonalities in combat sports in certain aspects. So even combat sports like boxing and fencing, he saw that there were things that could work together, right? Hence his idea of a blend, let's call it, of Wing Chun, boxing, and fencing, right?
I mean, I do not believe that there is such thing as like Chinese way of fighting or the Japanese way of fighting or whatever way of fighting.
Right. So no, I don't believe there's such a thing as like a Chinese way of fighting or a Japanese way of fighting or whatever way of fighting. Again, I say it's because the more he investigated, the more he became convinced that despite the fact that every part of the world has its own history of martial arts, has its own martial arts system, there was still common underlying factors. So if you go out and you study Filipino martial arts, French martial arts, Thai martial arts, Indonesian martial art, Burmese martial art, Cambodian martial art, Indian martial art, African martial art, guess what? At some point, you may come across stuff that you discovered first in like one area. And now, look, here it is again in another area, the same stuff or similar stuff. Okay.
Because unless human beings have 3 arms and 4 legs, we will have a different form of fighting. But basically, we have only 2 hands and 2 feet.
Right. So unless human beings have 3 arms and 4 legs, that's the only way we'll have a different form of fighting. But basically, we have only 2 hands and 2 feet. And there's another quote of Bruce Lee's, I think, where he says, since we're limited to 2 hands and 2 feet, we owe it to ourselves to develop these things to the highest level possible, something like that, right? So again, because of the commonalities, there's going to be the same kinds of motions across the arts, across the styles, as he calls it, right? We owe it to ourselves to train to develop these 4 limbs to the highest level possible. So you can endeavor to do it all by trial and error, like out there on your own. Or you could seek the knowledge from someone else, from somewhere else, by observing it, because there's a ton of video available to us in the 21st century. Or if you have the opportunity, you go train physically with someone.
So styles tends to not only separate men, you know, because they have their own doctrines, and then the doctrine became the gospel truth, you know, that you cannot change.
Now, that particular statement will resonate with a lot of us here on the I Love Jeet Kune page, the whole thing about doctrine. So the guy who said styles tend to not only separate men because they have their own doctrine, and then the doctrine becomes the gospel truth that you cannot change. The guy who said that, and this is, and we have the evidence that he said it, that became, I mean, he probably realized that in the classical martial art world, in the traditional styles, that was already a problem. And so he was seeking to not be part of that type of situation. Unfortunately, he passes away accidentally and prematurely. And what happens? Some well-intentioned followers of his turn around and go directly against what he had just said. And then there were some not so well-intentioned people who did the same thing. The first group, you can understand, and you can almost forgive them, to coin a phrase. The second group, not so much, but it's ridiculous. But there's the evidence. The whole idea about doctrine becoming gospel truth, becoming even dogma or what have you, and people saying, no, there's only this way to do it. There's only this approach to it. Anything else is sacrilegious. Anything else is not Bruce Lee. Kind of ridiculous.
Change, you know, but if you do not have styles, if you just say, well, here I am, you know, as a human being, how can I express myself totally and completely? Now that way, you won't create a style, because style is a crystallization, you know. I mean, that way, it's a process of continuing.
Now, isn't that interesting? Here again, we have the guy himself saying, you won't create a style because the style is a crystallization. And the Jeet Kune way is a process of continuing growth. So I don't know how much more we would need for him to say. I don't know how much more searching we would have to engage in order for that understanding to finally cement itself in our head, the process of continuing growth, right? To me, there's no way that you can watch this interview and come away thinking that this is a guy who believed in some kind of a fixed way of doing martial art. there's no evidence to support that at all. So if you haven't watched the Lost interview in a while, during the holidays, it's less than half an hour, right? Sit down and watch it again, and see what you come up with, right? See what you take away from it. Okay, so let's go now to the comment section. Let's see, I got time because it's early, right? Okay, so Terry Valor's here. Alex Huisman, hey. All right, Simon Alpin, James Bishop. James, I just had to mention your name. I don't know if you were here from the beginning, and say that almost every time I do something now, I have to make some kind of reference to you and your excellent book, which the new edition came in, by the way. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. Right? Okay. All right. So if you guys don't have anything specific in the comment section, I will wrap this up. Come back at 6 o'clock when I will be on with Albert Grajales, and we're gonna be talking about some of the stuff that he's doing down in Puerto Rico. All right, so that's at 6 o'clock in another few hours. All right, so today's a green day, as you can see. All right, so I'll see some of you in a couple hours. If not, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next week for another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast. Until then, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel, signing off. You guys take care. Talk soon.